Most homeowners spend money on the wrong renovations before selling, and they're constantly fooled because just because a renovation looks good, it doesn't mean it's actually going to pay you back. So in this coming year, return on your investment matters more than ever, not just images on Pinterest or images on the internet. Welcome, I'm Adam Marshall, and welcome to Ask the Marshall. And this is where I give you the weekly update on our local real estate market with no BS, no fluff, and just straight answers. So, welcome. And today we're going to be talking about the best return on your investment for renovations. Now, these are going to be the smartest upgrades that you can do, that you can make to your home, that are actually going to pay you back when you sell. So, when I visit a lot of homeowners, many homeowners have work that needs to be done that perhaps they haven't completed in a number of years. They haven't really kept up. And so this is why this is so important. So if you're thinking about selling, making sure you're spending money in the right areas and the right items is crucial. Okay. So what we're going to talk about in this episode is where to spend your money, where to spend it in your house or outside of your house, where not to spend your money. I don't want to see you wasting money spending money on an investment or a renovation that you think is going to be great, or a friend told you is going to be great, or something you saw on the internet that's going to be great, unless it makes sense. And I want to show you how to maximize your return without over improving the house, without spending more money than you need to. And in these concepts are most important in a balanced market like we're in right now. And that's why it's so important. As we're coming up, I'm talking to a lot of clients, and as they're contemplating some renovations, I want to make sure that they're spending money in the right spot. So, and the reality is that when I go see a lot of people and we have conversations, a lot of homeowners feel the pressure that they need to do everything, that they need to fully renovate the entire house. And that's not true. There are certain areas and certain items that you can choose to do that give you the best bang for your buck. And homeowners, they're afraid that buyers are going to be too critical of the home, that they're going to criticize it too heavily, and so they want to try to rush to get everything done. And then when they get into a renovation, they end up overspending. Okay, they overspend trying to make the house perfect, and you spend too much money, you overinvest, and you don't get a great return on that. Okay, now, I mean, as I'm seeing people on a regular basis, and as we're previewing homes that come on the market, I'm seeing what's working in the marketplace. I'm seeing what's selling out there, and I know what upgrades in a house are getting all the offers and are helping a house to sell for more money, and which renovations that actually get ignored, where buyers don't appreciate it. Buyers don't really see the renovation or the upgrade that the homeowner has made. Do me a favor and type in renos if you're thinking about upgrading, or DM me with sell. And I'd be curious in terms of, when you're thinking about selling, and if you're thinking about selling this upcoming year, because now is probably the time you're thinking about the renovation. I've got a renovation guide, so if you also DM me with value, I'd love to hear from you, and I'll get that renovation guide out to you so you know exactly where to spend your money and where not to spend your money to get the maximum value out for you to go ahead and to sell your home. Or also, you may be looking to refinance. This is the year for a lot of people where you're going to be refinancing your house. Well, your house needs to be appraised, and it needs to really show great when the appraiser comes through for the bank. These are some great tips that we're going to talk about also to improve the house, to make it show as nice as possible, to get the highest valuation when you go ahead and refinance or for when you sell. So let's just take a step back and let's look and let's discuss what return on investment actually means. Okay, and of course what it doesn't. This is important because many people don't fully understand the concept, or they focus on a certain room and they over improve it, and they may think that they're going to get the money back, but they don't. So when you make an investment and you're looking for a return on your investment, many renovations you don't get back dollar for dollar for what you put in. There's key rooms or key renovations that you can do that you improve your chances of getting your money back, but it's never really a guarantee. But what return on investment really means to me, and dealing with this real estate market every day, is that it means that we're looking to go ahead and get the house to sell faster. When buyers come through, it's going to be on the market less days, and it's going to have a higher perceived value for when buyers come into the market. I'm constantly have to remind sellers that nowadays when buyers come to a house, and when if you're a buyer, you're going to a house, you're more educated about what's selling in the neighborhood or what's in the market. You're more educated now more than ever. And so when you arrive at someone's house, you have a good idea of what is available in the market, and you have a good idea of what's sold in the neighborhood. So you have a good idea for the value. And you really ultimately, by the time you get there, you have a good idea of whether or not you think the renovation was valid or a good return, or if it was done well. All those issues come up. Okay. And then a great return on investment also means when we're selling, we're going to have fewer buyer objections about the house. In this market, when we're dealing with a balanced market, obviously buyers, they're educated when they come to the house. They know it's sold in the neighborhood. We want to eliminate any objections for them to not want your house or to not be interested. And there's some small renovations that, if done well, will get a great return. And there's certain renovations, if done well or if not done well, will certainly kill a deal. And buyers will definitely walk away and they won't pay for it. They don't see any value in it. So when we're talking about some of the psychology aspects of it, lots of sellers want to renovate to their own taste. Okay, and I understand that. Great idea if you're going to stay in the home. So if you're going to stay in the home, you're just looking to refinance, you can certainly do it to your own taste and just how you're going to like it, not for resale. So let's just kind of get that off the table. But when we're talking about having a higher value or getting the house to sell in a balanced market, don't renovate to your taste. You kind of want to renovate to the masses. And a lot of buyers aren't necessarily going to pay for your gold taps that you think are awesome and you love and you decide to spend the money on. Many buyers won't see the value in that, for example. So what do buyers value? So buyers value, and I talk about this regularly, buyers value a clean home. Okay? So anyone, if you aren't sure if your house is clean or if you're questioning, or while I'm saying this, you're asking yourself that question, have a friend answer that for you or give me a call and we'll have a blunt conversation. A clean house, a tidy house makes all the difference, whether it's renovated or not. A clean house will always sell faster than a dirty one. Okay? If you have a nice clean house versus a dirty renovated one, the clean house will sell for more money on average and it will sell faster. Just keep that in mind. We want to go ahead and understand that buyers also value function. So when you do your renovation, you want to do a renovation that is going to improve the house in terms of its functionality. So there's some older homes that are quite closed up, some older homes that the layouts don't work or make sense. And for not a lot of money, you can make some of those renovations, open it up or change the layout or the flow of the home. And the functionality is improved. And that's what buyers will value. When they walk into a house, and a lot of homes that they're tight and the rooms feel small, if you open up a wall, for example, many walls can be opened up without a lot of money, you can make that home feel much larger, much more open, much more spacious. And buyers really appreciate that. And it impacts them when they get there and they're standing by your front door and your front rug, looking in the home, and it's nice and wide, nice and open, feels modern, fresh, and renovated. It can be done on a budget. It can be done well. Light is an important thing. Lighting, nice bright home really works well. Now, I'm not talking like spotlight bright, but nice ambient lighting, appropriate lighting in certain areas, pot lights, nice lamps. These sorts of things, they work. An age-old rule in real estate is that kitchens and bathrooms need to have nice bright lighting. Okay, you don't want a dark bathroom or a dark kitchen. You want them nice and bright. You want them to feel open. You want them to feel fresh. And so that will certainly make an impression. And ask yourself, and whenever you go through perhaps a new home build and a model home, do you ever wonder why, usually when you go through them, all the lights are already on in the home? It's nice and bright when you walk in, everything's open, the lights are on, it feels inviting. The lighting makes a big difference. And so that's where that lighting is important. And understand that that when a buyer arrives at your home, they're there based on the amenities in terms of location and price and what your home has to offer. But when they're there and they walk in the front door, leaving that emotional impression on them is what's going to get them to buy the home. We need to get them emotionally connected to the home so they will go ahead and make an offer and want to buy it. Okay. And lighting leaves a huge lasting impact on people. If it's dark, if it's dingy, if it's not clean, all these items add up and are gonna stop the sale before it even begins. Okay. And once again, condition. If you know that your rugs are worn out, you know that you need a paint job, it's worn, chipped, holes in the wall. If you know that there's certain items like that need to be done, pay attention to them. You need to jump on that. You need to make that happen. And that leaves an impression on buyers also. So, and once again, that is mostly labor. It doesn't really cost a lot of money, especially if you can do a lot of it yourself, but it leaves the lasting impression on the buyer when they come in, and it will impact them emotionally. And that's where we want to capture the buyers, grab a hold of them, and get them emotionally invested in the purchase. So some of the invisible upgrades that I've already mentioned here, this is where this falls into. Okay, these are some of the invisible upgrades. Okay, so buyers will pay more for a house that's freshly painted. Okay, you know that your home needs a quick paint job. Fresh paint goes a long way. I always try to describe to homeowners that paint's worth, let's say, $50 in the can, $70 in the can, but it's worth about $1,000 in the wall. And so when you make the house look fresh and open and neutral with paint, it goes a long, long, long way. Okay. So with paint and lighting, we already talked about. Buyers will pay more for that. Flooring. Nowadays, flooring can be very affordable if you know what to choose and what products to use. You can put some flooring in a new home and do the entire, say, main floor or multiple levels at a pretty affordable cost. If you can do some of the labor yourself, that's even better. So flooring, buyers will pay more for. Once again, cleanliness, that's my key one that I always like to mention. A clean home will always sell before a dirty or even a cluttered one. And when we do the renovations, we want to focus on creating a neutral atmosphere and neutral finishes. Now, I know some people say, well, I don't like this new home, whites and grays, and I get it. I get what you're saying. But once again, we're not going to be renovating the home for your own taste. We're renovating this house for the masses. Renovating this so this appeals to the greatest and broadest fraction or section of the market. And that's who we're looking for, and who's going to buy our house. So, and let me pose a question to you. Would you rather spend $5,000 on renovations, and by spending that $5,000, you're removing objections of the house, or would you rather negotiate the terms or the price of your house by $40,000? Which would you rather do? Would you rather spend the $5,000 now if you have it, or would you rather negotiate $40,000 off the price? And that is the impact that this would have and can have on your home sale. And this is how important many of these renovations and updates are to the average home. There's a few myths out there that some people say that new kitchens always pay off. I call that a myth, because certainly kitchen is the most important room in the house. And we want to make sure it's in good condition and it flows and it's functional. But I see many people overspend on kitchens. When you get into a kitchen renovation, you can do a basic renovation or you can do a very elaborate, very expensive renovation. And that's the side we want to really avoid if you're looking to sell, and if you're looking to get out of the house, because all the extras that you can put in, all the high-end appliances, all the high-end features, that's typically for your own taste. But you can put a nice, decent kitchen in, or renovate a kitchen to modernize it on a decent budget, for a pretty affordable cost. Another myth is that buyers always want luxury, and to a certain extent, I will agree. Many buyers do want some higher end fixtures or finishes, the hardwoods, the granites, you name it. But generally speaking, buyers are going for a house that's move-in ready. So they don't need the top of the line you fill in the blank of hardwood or the flooring or appliances or fixtures. They don't need that high end, but they want to know it's a move-in ready, that they don't have to renovate it anytime soon, and then it leaves them with a good, clean, finished, polished feel. That's what they're looking for, and it needs to be move-in ready. Because the reality is, in today's economy, in today's world, in today's balanced market, a lot of buyers don't have the extra money, they don't have the extra time, or they don't have the skills to do the renovation. So the more that we can do, or the more objections we can remove, the faster we can get your house to sell for, and the more money we can get your house to sell for. Okay. Please go ahead and DM me with value. Okay, and I'll show you what's worth to do for your home, what renovations that you should focus on, and where you should be spending your money. Now, let's talk about some of the top renovations and some of the top renovations to do, and of course, what to avoid, because I see a lot of people get into this and they get too deep. So now, every smart renovation should do one of three things. Okay, number one, should remove objections from buyers. So the worn out flooring, remove that objection. That can be done at affordable cost or improved nominally. Let's do that. Number two, we want to improve their first impression. So when a buyer comes to that house for the very first time, you have to keep in mind they already have a good idea of what's sold in the neighborhood. They know what a dollar is going to get them. But when they get in your front door, we need to leave them with that strong first personal impression. And then number three, we want to increase the perceived space or light in the home. I haven't ever had a buyer in my years of selling real estate. I've never had a buyer tell me that they love a dark, dingy home. It hasn't been said. Maybe they felt that way. I doubt it, but I've never had a buyer ever say that to me. And I think we can all agree for the most part that everyone likes a nice, bright, welcoming home. And this is what we're looking to attain. This is the goal in mind. So when a buyer gets to the house, they feel comfortable, they feel like it's good quality and it's open and it's fresh, and they can therefore start to see themselves living there. Now, let's talk about some of the top upgrades that you want to focus on. Now, number one, once again, our best friend is paint. Once again, paint is worth $50 to $70 in the can, and that's worth about $1,000 in a wall. This is the single most greatest investment that you can make in terms of renovating your house at any time. Nice and fresh, easy to do. It leaves a lasting impression and solves a lot of problems with a lot of homes. Now, once again, neutral sells. We don't want to go ahead and get into the specific colors that you like for whatever reason. You know, everyone remembers the hunter greens. Everyone remembers the dusty roses. Let's avoid that. In today's market, today's economy, we're going with the neutral colors, the light beiges, the whites, the grays. If you're not sure about what color is the most common, or you'd like to know, just DM me with color also. I'll be sure to send that over to you, and we'll talk about some of the most common colors that are used and some of the best returns. It makes a big difference. Consistency. You know, if your whole house needs a paint job, let's not just stop at one section. Let's try to do as much as we can, you know, and make everything consistent throughout. So when we do it, usually one color is the best method for a lot of homes. And you need to understand that, because if you start to color and paint each room a different color, it's going to make the house feel small. It isn't necessarily a problem if you have a large home, but the smaller the house, the more colors that are used, it starts to close the house in. So we want to brighten it up. Use the same color, totally fine, very commonly done. And that's what a lot of buyers really expect and they enjoy. Also, don't overlook ceilings and trim. Many people want to, cut some corners and save on money. Do the ceilings and trim. That makes a big difference. When you walk in and there's a nice bright white ceiling, white ceilings, by the way, typically no other color in most cases, nice bright white ceiling, it really improves everything. It lifts the ceiling up, makes that 9-foot ceiling or 8-foot ceiling, makes it feel like 10, 11, 12 feet if it's nice and white, clean. It raises it up. Same with trim. It frames in the windows, it frames in the doors, it feels clean, it feels renovated, it gives a quality feel. And that's what we want to go with when we're talking about paint. Lighting, we talked about. So updating some of your fixtures. You can update fixtures very, very economically now. update some of those fixtures, and the older fixtures will kill value. That old chandelier, those old 1990s, you used to call them, still call them the booby lights. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Update those, put in some LED lights, modernize us, make it more modern feeling. And we want to go for warmth versus brightness. So I would say, once again, we want a nice bright home, but I don't want stark white. We don't want to feel like we're in a lab. We're not in the operating room here. We want to feel this nice neutral lighting, but it's bright, but not stark white. You don't feel like you're on stage. And don't neglect the exterior lighting. Nowadays, we can put some lighting outside very affordably using, fill in your favorite online brand. But you can hop on Amazon and you can buy some really nice landscaping lighting that can really light up the outside of the house for very, very affordable cost. And at night or in the evening, early mornings, leaves a great impression. And you can do that for, quite honestly, under $100. I've done it many times. Buy some simple lighting. You don't have to put in pot lights if it's not in the budget. Pot lights are great, but don't overlook that. They're super important. If you can pop in a couple pot lights, awesome. If not, landscape lighting, excellent. Going to make a nice difference. Going to make a big difference on that curb appeal. When people come up, they really need to feel that. And that's their first impression before they even get to the home, is the exterior. So don't neglect that. Flooring, once again. So flooring, you got worn carpet, get it out if you can. Get it out of there. Oftentimes in many homes that were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, there's probably hardwood under there. Now, you may have never seen it, but it's worth a gamble to rip it up and have a look and see what's there. And you can refinish old hardwood really economically. So if you can do that, great. But get that old worn carpet out. It's not helping you. Okay, that's a red flag for a lot of buyers. When they walk in and they see old worn carpet, that can be a great turnoff. They don't want that. Let's talk about LVP, or luxury vinyl plank flooring. It works great, waterproof. I don't need to sell you on it, but it's a great option, affordable option. Also, you can do some nice hardwood in certain rooms or certain price ranges. You'll need to do hardwood. That's something we need to talk about. That's something we need to have that discussion and a conversation on, because if you're buying a certain price point, you expect there to be hardwood. If you're putting in a vinyl plank, in my strong opinion, not a good investment in many price ranges or certain price ranges. And then there's other rooms that it's works for, and that's carpet. Some people like carpet in certain rooms, it works. So that is important. And I talk to lots of people, and many people do like carpet in the bedroom. Fair enough. Some people don't, but a lot of people do. And generally speaking, right now, people don't like carpet in the common areas for obvious reasons, but in the bedroom they like it. So that could be a great way to do that, to freshen up a room just by putting in some fresh carpet. And once again, carpet can be done pretty affordably depending on what grade and what level that you want to choose. So when we're talking about flooring options, one key issue that I deal with all the time is, if we have a living room, dining room, fill in the blank of whatever room, don't just stop there. Maybe you need to do both rooms or all three rooms or the whole main level, because every time you have a different flooring and a different change in the flooring type or surface or color, it's going to make the house feel smaller. It's going to make it feel choppy. There's going to be more transitions. Talk to any flooring guy, talk to any contractor, they'll tell you the same thing. So if you can afford to do perhaps a wider area than just that one room, that's recommended. And once again, this is certainly a subjective idea or a subjective concept, so I don't want to paint everything with the same brush. But once again, flooring has the same effect as paint, in that more transitions makes it feel smaller, makes it feel a little off. Things don't flow, and we want to make things flow, eliminate and minimize the chaos that could be in some homes. Okay. Bathrooms. So bathrooms, great room to renovate. You can do it pretty affordably if you know what to look for. And why I say that is that I always push for just doing a little bit of a cosmetic refresh. We don't need to gut the bathroom unless it's terrible. There's a lot of really affordable ways that we can go in and we can cosmetically update it, refresh that room, and it feels functional, it feels newer, it feels nice. And I say this because I've flipped quite a few homes, I've renovated a lot, and you can do bathrooms actually on a pretty decent budget, surprisingly. Fixtures, mirrors, lighting in bathrooms. These are all the things we want to talk about. In my opinion, you don't need to put in cheap garbage faucets. We can put in some decent. We can put in some decent upgrades, some classic names. And for me, when I look at a house and I see that they put in certain brands, then I know that at least there's a great warranty behind that, and that matters to me. They didn't go grab like the Fisher Price brand. They grab a decent brand. I know I can get parts. I know it's quality, and it makes a big difference. Okay. Mirrors, once again, quality mirrors make it look good. And bathrooms, lots of lighting. Make sure there's lots of lighting in the bathroom, nice and bright. Ladies, I'm sure you'll attest to this. You don't want a dark bathroom. You're looking to put on makeup. You're looking to do your hair. Bad lighting is not a good idea. We want this bright, open. We want to be able to see everything. We want to be able to do the job right. Very, very important. Grout and caulking. Obviously, we can regrout tile. We can recaulk bathtubs. We can make a lot of this look really nice just by polishing some of this up, making it look new, making it look fresh, getting rid of some of the mold and mildew buildup, simple things like that, and get them done. Okay. And once again, in the bathroom, the number one theme there, just like in the kitchens, is cleanliness. The bathroom has got to feel clean. It's got to be spick and span, nice fresh smell when you're in there. That's what we need. That's what we're really looking for. Okay. Now, some of our low return on investment renovations. Now, hear me when I say this. We want to just be very cautious. Kitchens. Kitchens can be a great return on investment, but I'll tell you, and I want to give you an idea when it cannot be, because they can also suck a lot of money out of your pocket. Do not over personalize a kitchen. Freshen it up, renovate it, paint, new countertops, maybe a new backsplash, new hardware, fresh coat of paint on the cupboards. Great way to do it. It can be done very affordably on a great budget. But don't over personalize it. Don't get special this and special that and little special desks in there. You don't need that. You don't need to have custom cabinetry. Generally speaking, people aren't going to pay you a lot more for that. You don't need to do a full gut. You can just do a quick little refresh. A quick little refresh in most kitchens is going to go a long way. And even older ones, older kitchens. I've done this many times. Old cupboards, but I can paint them up, make them look good, new fresh hardware on them. Feels like a new kitchen. Many times I've renovated a kitchen. I keep the old good solid wood boxes. I put new doors on there. New doors, new hardware, soft close. You can do it like that. Doesn't cost that much. You can get the right person in there or do it yourself. Very, very doable. Okay. And with kitchens, you want the kitchen to match the house. So you don't want to over renovate it. You don't want to make it feel like this kitchen came from, $1 million or $2 million house, and you're, only worth $500,000, or you're in the wrong neighborhood for that type of kitchen. And you can't do that and expect to get your money out. So if you're expecting to get your money out of something like that, be very cautious. Tread very cautiously with that, because that's where you can spend a lot of money, and it doesn't match the price bracket that you're in. Basements. Now, this one is a classic example. Basements can cost a lot of money to renovate and finish. So if you have an unfinished basement, if you're doing a lot of work yourself, maybe you're just looking at material cost. Certainly, that can be a great investment. That can make a lot of sense if you're doing that. And a finished basement is a great asset to have. So when you're doing that, keep a couple things in mind. And when we're talking about someone overbuilding it, I see that a lot. They'll overbuild it. They'll spend the expensive spray foam, and they'll put in high-end fixtures or put in a lot of stuff that, as a buyer, as a consumer, when you walk down there, you can't tell that you did that. You don't know the extra amount or extra effort you put into that to make that super special. Keep that in mind. Ceiling height issues. Okay, in basements, obviously, some basements we only have a certain ceiling height that we're dealing with, but others can be higher. So that's a great room, in my opinion. It doesn't cost you any more to necessarily to make it a higher ceiling if there's room there. So definitely work within that. Get it as nice as high and as bright as you can. Make sure we've got lots of great lighting down there. Once again, you can fill that room up with pot lights and different zones of lighting. It would be great. And once again, make sure we're going to be doing a basement and we're going to be advertising it as brand new, make sure proper permits are all in place. Everything's done properly, especially if you're dealing with plumbing, a lot of electrical, and we're meeting all the expectations appropriately. Okay, don't want to disappoint when someone starts to ask questions about this newest, latest, greatest renovation you did. They start asking about permits and you can't produce any. This can certainly throw a wrench into the works, and to throw a wrench into a lot of the work and effort that you've already put into it. So let's not go there. Let's not go too deep into that. So when we're talking about some specialty upgrades in whatever room, some of the luxury finishes, if you can get that material at a reasonable cost, it can be well worth putting it in. But don't overspend on that just because you think that that latest widget is worth it. Don't do that. Just go with quality. Go with, meet expectations. We don't need to blow them out of the water with every renovation. Once again, niche features. If we're trying to accommodate and customize a certain room, a kitchen, or a bathroom, let's not get too deep into some custom cabinetry options. Let's go ahead and just kind of fill the void and make it functional, make it new, make it fresh. And don't over improve for your neighborhood. You got to really take that into consideration. We don't want to have the highest finished house in the neighborhood that's for sure by a long shot. So make sure it's applicable to the person who's going to be interested and going to be purchasing your house. If you have a home that's probably going to be purchased by an investor certainly isn't going to pay you extra for a really, really, really nice kitchen. But they'll pay you for a renovated kitchen. If they know they can turn that over and rent that out pretty easily and the tenants are going to be happy and they'll make a good return, they're definitely interested. Okay. Now, whenever I work with a lot of homeowners that are looking to improve the house, I just worked with a couple, and they had only purchased the house a couple years ago. And when I arrived on site, there's a lot of work that wasn't done, and they had plans on getting the work done. They hadn't got there yet. And they literally in their living room had a stack of flooring sitting there. But they were at the end of their rope, they're at the end of their timeline, and the end of their budget in regards to their renovation. So when I got there, they were looking for my advice, and I was able to get them on the right track with taking the materials that they had, the materials that they had already installed, using what we could. Let's not over improve it, and do this on a very, very short, quick timeline. And they were able to do a great job. They were able to renovate it. They got the materials installed, what they had, what they can afford, what they can make to work. And we just kind of polished up some other areas on a budget, on a very strict budget, and we're able to get it on the market. And I was able to get that sold for almost full asking price just within a short period of time on the market. So it worked out great. And they were super excited because they can get on to their next chapter. And the buyer that bought it, they could see the potential. They could see that the house was clean. They could see that it was mostly renovated. A couple key areas like the kitchen probably needs some new cupboards, but we had a nice paint job on there. Felt clean. It felt fresh. It made all the difference in the world where the buyer was not turned off by it, was not revolted. And of course, this house here, it was clean. It was neat, but it was in a neighborhood that had a lot of upside to it. The lot, great neighborhood. And so the buyer moving to that could see the value there, even though there's items in the house that need some renovation, still needs to go a little bit further. They knew that what they were buying, there was great value, and we were able to get that sold in a very quick amount of time. So keep that in mind. This is the power of the right renovations and what it can make for you and what it can do for you. Okay. So before you spend a dime, DM me with value, and I'm going to go ahead and save you from wasting any money. I don't want to see you waste money on your renovation. If you're already into a renovation, I don't want to see you get deeper into it. I don't want to see you just spend money aimlessly, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. So let's jump over to some of our quick question and answer. So here for our Q&A, I've got some questions that were sent to me here. So people often ask me, should I renovate or sell as is? And this is a classic question. And, ultimately it depends on what we're dealing with. But generally speaking, there's usually some items in the house that we can do and do some light, simple renovations that will improve the house. Paint, cleaning, decluttering, depersonalizing, some quick flooring, maybe some hardwood under there. We can expose that, and that can really shine and show the quality of the home and the higher end features. This is what we want to deal with. So renovating a little bit is usually the answer for a lot of homes. Because a lot of homes usually need paint touch-ups or anything at the very minimum. But selling as is usually is not preferable unless the home is suited for and maybe it's in poor enough condition. We know there's going to be an investor purchasing that. We know it's going to be somebody who needs to invest a lot of money, and we really can't tackle everything. So then we go to our basics. We go to our basics of, quick fresh coat of paint, get rid of the old carpeting, update it, make sure it's clean, make sure it's empty. These items really matter and they add up. Okay. What is the biggest waste of money? Well, once again, biggest waste of money is getting in those high-end features, those high-end fixtures. So I see lots of homeowners will get into custom fitted, expensive appliances. It's great to have if you live there. I mean, side by side refrigerators and freezers, side by side high-end units, like really nice. Extremely expensive and probably only work for that house, right? That's some of the customization we want to avoid. So don't spend the money on that. And we want to just to avoid that. That's where a lot of the biggest waste of money that I see is just that additional customization that you don't need to do that. Just reel it in a bit, and you can go ahead and save on your budget. Do some quality finishes, some quality features, but without blowing the budget. Some people always ask me, okay, what or how much should I budget? Well, that depends. But you can do a paint job on a house with a painter for the average house anywhere between $4,000 and $6,000, generally speaking. That's with using a professional painting service, and if you're looking at doing it yourself, you're going to save a lot of money that way if you can do it yourself. And please, painting, by the way, many people shouldn't paint their own house. Okay, any painters that are out there, they're watching. Many people should not paint their own house. They should hire a professional because painting makes a big difference. When there's a quality paint job done, it makes a big difference on a home. Don't kid yourself. Not everyone can paint. Cutting in on corners, cutting in around trim, no sloppiness, the quality of the paint, the actual finish look of the paint matters. And a professional knows how to do this properly. And a professional knows how to fix the wall appropriately so that it's not going to show off, not going to show weird or poorly. So don't discount that. I see that people do that a lot. They think they can just throw paint on the wall. Yeah, to a degree, but generally speaking, a professional painter makes a big difference. So how much should you budget? The average renovation that we'll probably do is, you start getting a little bit of painting, a little bit of cleanup, probably gonna be $1,000. And then it can go up from there. For the average home, if you have a little bit of a budget, if you can spend $1,000 to $3,000, that's going to go a long way. And we can stretch that through, generally speaking, and improve a house and make it look typically, night and day difference on a home. Do buyers expect brand new kitchens? Well, some buyers do. Some buyers expect brand new everything, and the old Michael Myers movie, if you ever watched that, so I Married an Axe Murderer, the old Scotsman, he says, if it's not brand new, it's crap. Well, that's how a lot of people do feel. And I don't agree with them, but I think you can go in and you can renovate a kitchen on a budget, make it look nice, quality, do it on a budget, but make it look and feel almost new. That makes a big difference. And a lot of buyers will accept almost new and compared to brand new. So budget, when you're on a budget, that matters a lot. And once again, people ask me, what if I can't afford any upgrades? Well, if you can't afford any upgrades, that's not a problem. I do have ways to get around that. I do actually have a crew when I'm working with a seller. If they don't have it in their budget to do any work, then I will go ahead and I'll front the money if they want, and we'll do the right renovations. And then when we go ahead and sell, then we can recoup that and settle that up. I do that for sellers. So if that's on your radar and that's something you'd be interested in, let me know. I'd love to chat with you about that. But I'd send my crew in of the clients and the customers and the contractors that I use, and I'll bring them in and make sure that the work is done right, the work is done in the right way to go ahead and maximize the value of your home, and you can get a return on it. And that's the goal. That's the goal. So any other questions, please just go ahead and just drop them down below. I'd like to, if I don't get to them this week, I will definitely get them to them in a future week. I love answering them because I know there's a lot of questions out there pertaining to all these questions and topics that I have. So I'd love to go ahead and hear from you, and I'd love to make sure I'm getting your questions answered. So I'd like to go ahead and just spend some quick time here and discuss a local organization that I work really hard for and work really hard with, and that's CMN, or the the organization that supports sick kids hospitals, the Children's Miracle Network. And super important, because every time that someone refers me business, every time that someone I help someone buy or sell a house, a portion of all my proceeds I donate to them. And I'd love to be able to support them and the quality work and the quality services that they provide at sick kids hospitals. And if you don't know what sick kids do, if you don't know what the CMN does, they're a fantastic organization. And I'm proud to tell you that I'm the third largest contributor to that program in my company. And I'd love to contribute to them every time I go ahead and I get a house sold. So wonderful organization. They take care of kids at a very, very high level. Me and my family, we have received that care. We've received that level of service, and I'm forever indebted. And so I've set a goal for myself that I want to go ahead and raise $50,000 for the CMN and sick kids hospitals, and I'm well on my way to that. So, well, once again, every time I sell a house, that's what one of my focus is, and that's where I like to go ahead and make a contribution. So, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. We've talked about a lot here, and I want you to keep in mind that return on investment matters more now than ever. Okay, buyers pay for condition, not your personal taste. They will go ahead and they'll pay for it, but they won't pay for the extra customization. And less is often more. You would usually be surprised that you don't need to do as much as you think to renovate your house or to make your house look awesome. And when we go ahead and we plan, we get together, we put our heads together, that planning will save you a lot of money in the renovation and the time. And that's what I want to avoid. I want to make sure that you're not wasting time or wasting money, and so you can get the best return possible. Okay. Please DM me with value. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll show you exactly what pays off for your home. Of course, there's no pressure, just smart advice, just straight up advice, and I want to make sure that we get that. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next week, and send me and forward all your questions, and we look forward to chatting then. Take care. Thank you so much for watching Ask the Marshal Live, my weekly live stream where I answer your questions and give you the real truths and the actual facts of what's happening here in the Brantford, Brant County, and Norfolk area markets. So please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk soon.